What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Life's a Garden. Today's guest is a mechanic. He has owned his own shop before where he actually used to import cars from Japan, fix them up, and then sell them. He is also a fellow music lover. He plays the drums. This guy is MMA trained. He's got all kinds of stuff going on. And we talk about all that plus a whole lot more. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Luke Meador. So then, were you born in Seattle, or did you just live in Seattle?
I was born in Tacoma.
Okay.
Yeah, so like half an hour from Seattle, or not a half an hour, traffic's fucked. I'd say maybe, what is that, like 30 miles, 35 miles south.
Sure.
But
And then did you live in Seattle at one point?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I lived right outside of it and around it. Like I moved around a bit because I went to high school in Tacoma. And then I moved, like Puyallup, Renton, Auburn, just like all the suburbs of Seattle. So I never lived in Seattle, like directly. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, because I was curious, because when did you move here?
Very end of December, like the 23rd or 24th.
Sure. So pretty recently.
Yeah.
Then. It's almost been a year, I guess.
Yeah, we're getting close.
I was just curious what it was like living in an active war zone.
Look, I lived in Chicago for a while, too.
Okay.
That was worse.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
No, I mean, Seattle has definitely gone way downhill, like, even since I left,
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think it was that bad when I was there.
Really?
I mean, like, the homeless issue, like, pandemic was awful, but it seems to have, like, exploded due to COVID and stuff like that.
Were you there when all those riots were happening?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Stuff? Okay.
I didn't even know about it. I was literally in Seattle, like, and I saw all the police, like, walking around in riot gear. Like, they were all on bikes. There was the SWAT cars, or, like, SWAT trucks, and I had no clue what was happening, because I was just minding my own business, making a run, like, to a friend's house.
Yeah.
And, like, trying to leave.
Jeez. It just, like, popped off out of nowhere?
Literally, I was sitting at a light, like, I don't remember what street it was. I was sitting at a light, and they just came, like, marching around the side of this building, just, like, a drove of them. And I was like, what the fuck? Like,
dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then when I got home, I looked it up, and I was like, oh, I mean, I didn't know, like, at the time when I saw them, I didn't know about the riots. I don't think I was that close to the riot, I was confused in hindsight why they were where I was. Because, like, nothing was getting vandalized, nothing was on fire, I didn't hear anything breaking, like, there was no people shouting, there was just, like, stormtroopers rolling through where I was at this light. So
yeah, that's kind of crazy. I can't imagine just like you would imagine like war was breaking out or something like that.
Yeah, and I was riding my motorcycle at the time too, so I'm just like sitting there, like completely open and exposed as they're like marching by. And I was
what was like your thought process as that's happening? Like, what's going through your head?
First thought was like, do I turn around and like go somewhere else? Because I didn't know what they were doing there. I didn't know where they were going or like any of the reasoning behind it. And like, yeah, first thought was like, instead of going straight or like waiting for them to pass, if they pass, like, do I go left, right, turn around, like find a new way home?
Yeah, I'd be like, what the hell is going on around here? Like,
it's like roads closed, pizza boy. I was like, what is this? But yeah, once I got home and looked it up and I saw like all the damage that was being done, I was like, okay, it's kind of warranted, like being that many people, in full gear. But yeah,
but you never saw any of the actual
no
rioting and stuff.
I didn't see like the rioters.
Sure.
Yeah, just like the riot squad, I guess.
Because it was only really like, it wasn't like the whole city was.
No, it was just certain parts, and I want to say it was like downtown, and I was still closer to the college.
Okay.
So yeah, and I just kind of passed through that area on my way home.
Yeah, I've been to Seattle one time. The Seattle University?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, we toured that school. It was a really nice school.
Cool. Yeah, it does. It is really nice. I mean, they have a UW Tacoma as well, which is like super small and I mean, right in the middle of Tacoma, like downtown. But it's still a really nice school.
Okay. Oh wait. So was it UW then? Is that what you're
The one I was referencing was in
Okay,
Seattle.
because we did the University of Seattle, and then we did UW
Oh,
as well.
I'm talking about UW.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
sorry.
UW's huge.
Yeah.
They said that the attendance at UW is like 60,000
Oh, I believe
students
it, yeah.
or something like that.
I mean, it might as well be its own city.
I know.
Well, it was the same thing when I was in Illinois. When I lived near Chicago, I went to Champaign-Urbana, which at the time I didn't know like that was a college. But it's like basically two cities that make up just this college town. But that was probably the biggest campus I'd seen. I don't know, obviously, like for square footage and stuff like that, if it was bigger or smaller than UW, but it was cool. I mean, I wouldn't move back to Illinois. Now I wouldn't move back to Seattle either.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was going to ask you that too. So, well, first of all, so how long did you live in Chicago?
I was in Chicago for about 3 years.
Okay.
Right outside Chicago.
And you said that was pretty bad too, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was rough. I mean, and then I've got family in that's near Detroit. So for whatever reason, like all of the worst cities is where my family is nearby. They're not in it.
Pretty familiar with.
But yeah, I've been around it enough.
Okay. And then, so how does that compare to here? Like, what's your overall, like, since you've been here almost a year, like, it's got to be a pretty big difference based in, like, size and activity and things to do and stuff like that.
It was a huge change. And, like, I had been kind of contemplating moving here for quite a while before I actually moved here. So I owned an automotive shop in Washington for the last 6 years. A year before moving here, I got my LLC and everything set up in Montana, kind of like a just in case thing. And then, sure enough, I ended up moving here. I came here once before, just to visit, and I fell in love with it. It was just beautiful. It seemed very small coming from,
I would imagine,
between Tacoma and Seattle and stuff like that. It felt small. I didn't know like how slow paced it would actually feel once I got here. And it's kind of odd to say now, because I'm on the same schedule I was back then, get up, go to work, usually we're busy. But yeah, outside of work, it's like a lot of places that would normally be open in Washington are closed. Like they close earlier, they have different hours. The fact there is no traffic, like worst case, it takes maybe 20 minutes to go somewhere.
Yeah, like, and that's forever for me. Like,
yeah, like I know when I got here, people were complaining about traffic, and I was like, "What roads are you taking? I haven't seen any." I mean, man, that was like the worst part of Washington was when I lived in Auburn. If I wanted to go to Tacoma, it was like 15 miles. I hope you have like 2 hours to get there.
Right,
that's traffic, But yeah, here it's been great. The winters, like I said, I moved here December 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
Is when I started moving. It took like 3 days to move. And
in the dead set of winter.
Yeah, worst idea driving over. I want to say it's either 3 or 4 passes between where I was in Washington and here. Yeah, dead of winter. With the loaded U-Haul truck pulling my car on the trailer, and once we got here, within a week it hit like negative 24. I think. Yeah, in the
you
middle
got
of the
thrown
night.
into the fire or the ice, rather.
Yeah, literally the ice, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like it doesn't get that bad where I'm from.
Yeah.
So, waking up not having running water because everything's frozen solid.
Oh shit! I've had that before.
Yeah, that was a little bit of an adjustment, a little bit of a change there. It's hilarious because it got to be, I want to say it got up to around like negative 11, negative 12, and I thought it was warm.
Yeah.
It hit 0 degrees, and I was outside in a t-shirt wondering what we did to deserve that heat wave.
Yeah. Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So that was super, super strange for me. I mean, I'm a huge fan of winters. I love to snowboard and stuff like that. I'm just not a fan of it being cold if there isn't snow.
Oh yeah, dude, I know it. Well, see, I don't know if I agree with that myself because I hate snow.
Okay, yeah.
Like I love cold.
Yeah.
Now, once you get into the negatives, that's where it gets a little obnoxious.
Yeah. I guess I should say like driving in it, walking in it, dealing with it's not fun.
Sure.
But like if it's gonna be that cold, like there should be snow readily accessible, for if you want to go snowboarding.
Yeah,
or
see now that
something like that.
snowboarding's cool, like you
Yeah.
said, driving, walking,
Yeah,
shoveling, like it's all just
Yeah.
a big pain in the neck.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, trying to thaw out your car.
Oh
you
god.
know?
Yeah, if you have to leave your car out not in a freaking garage or
Yeah.
somewhere protected, like that's just a mess every day you got
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah, that's a pain. And I'm really, after this last winter, or the part of it that I was here for, I can't say I'm looking forward to this winter. I think it'll be a little better. I'm not.
Now that it's not just like
Yeah, I'm a little more prepared.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I have a hard time remembering winter by winter. The last few have been fairly mild.
Yeah.
Dude, it was like 4 or 5 years ago. It was madness. Like
Oh,
it was record breaking snowfall
Yeah.
where we had over 100 inches in the full winter.
Yeah. Well, on the topic of weather, hail was not something that I was used to either.
Yeah.
So when I heard about that, I was like, well, that's cool. I guess I have to keep all my cars indoors, because I didn't know how severe it was going to be. And, I hear people talking about, what is it? Shepherd?
Yeah,
Like it's-
Shepherd,
Roundup. Yeah.
a lot of those
that
places.
get absolutely destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I get people even here in the Heights talking about how it just destroyed their roof, took all the siding off the house and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I was
you said the one that was just like a couple months ago?
yeah.
See, and that was mild.
Oh, good. I love that.
But to be fair, big hailstorms aren't every year,
Yeah,
I
okay.
mean, somewhere around here does get it, like you said, Shepherd,
Yeah.
Roundup. As far as Billings area, we had a really, really bad one probably 4 or 5 years ago, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And it was like 3 years ago because it totaled my car out.
Oh man.
Yeah, which was fine by me because
Yeah.
no more payment and I didn't really care that much. But yeah, that was a bad one because we were getting quarter size hail,
Yeah.
and that's when anything quarter size or bigger, it's usually cause for damage.
Yeah.
This last one, my truck was up in the Heights because I was watching Drew's house, and I
yeah.
didn't have it in a garage because I had my carport here. So
Yeah.
if there was ever hail here, I'd be able to protect it. There, it was wide out in the open, and I was watching my truck get just smoked.
Yeah.
I was watching hail bounce off it, and I was just so terrified to go assess the damage. Nothing.
Oh yeah. Well, same here. I was in the Heights in the Evo, and that's the first time I've been in a car in a hailstorm. It sounded
Like driving with it?
yeah, it sounded terrible.
Yeah.
And I was like, the thing is gonna be totaled. Like the car's got an aluminum roof, carbon fiber trunk. I was like, it's done. They're probably just going right through the trunk or whatever. And then yeah, like you said afterwards, nothing.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, and my tonneau cover does have a little bit of dimples in
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it's just because it's solid. Like,
yeah.
and like the metal might have a little more give.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was gonna say it seems like it just kind of bounced it off.
Oh, dude, it's driving in a heavy rainstorm is terrifying. When like you have no
Yeah,
visibility
yeah.
and your wipers are just,
Yeah.
but you just can't see anything.
Yeah.
Like that's
I get
terrifying
that a
enough.
lot. I mean, coming from Washington, where it's always raining.
Yeah,
You know.
I imagine you've probably seen your fair share of rainstorms.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's funny because like living out there, around near Seattle, where it rains a ton, you get these people that have also lived there for years and years, if not their entire life, and they still forget how to drive every time it rains.
Yeah,
I'm like, you of all people should be used to this.
that's how it is when it snows, man.
Yeah,
Like every year, if you just moved here, okay. But honestly, I feel like the people who just moved here are more defensive because
yeah,
they're trying to be. Where people are just like, "Oh yeah, we can do this," and then
I'm from Billings.
yeah,
and,
but then they
just floor it and-
forget.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, ice is slippery.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I saw my fair share of, crashes or just people kind of in the embankments and stuff off the road.
Oh yeah, people trying to go through those middle parts in
Yeah.
like a little sedan where
Yeah,
it's.
when
I wouldn't
they-
even do it in my
when
truck.
they plow it and it just builds up. Yeah. And I'm like, you're not driving over that or, through it.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go all the way around it, which sucks. But
Yeah, apparently it's supposed to snow this Sunday.
really, already?
Yeah,
Okay.
like just a little bit.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then it'll
okay.
go away right away, but because it'll be warm enough that it'll probably just melt. But
Yeah.
of course, I'm driving back from Denver
Oh, yeah,
on
that's
Sunday.
right. Yeah.
I won't be driving, thankfully, because it's like every single time I go to Denver, it's snowing. And it's just, I hate
Yeah.
drive, especially through Wyoming, because Wyoming is just the
Oh, yeah.
worst. It just blows wind and
Mhm.
you get snow blindness if it's bad. I can't imagine it'll be that bad because it should be warm enough that it'll just melt right away.
Yeah. So I heard, I think today was supposed to be the warmest day for the rest of the year.
Really?
Yeah. And I know that's not going to instill a lot of confidence, but I don't know how much it's going to drop. You know, it may
Yeah.
just be gradual.
Well, yeah, I would hope so. And either way, it shouldn't be so severe of a storm that
Yeah.
we're gonna get like caught out in the middle of nowhere with. Oh, but it's like go figure. And Monday
Yeah.
there's no snow, so it's
Of
just
course
like
not.
the one day that we're
Yeah.
driving back.
And then, of course, it just has to be Wyoming that you're driving through.
Yeah,
And
and
I-
it's
I-
literally from Casper all the way to here is
Yeah.
like where the snow looks like it's gonna be, and that could always change.
Yeah.
That's 3 days from now.
Yeah. No, I'm only going to talk shit about Wyoming and driving through it because I have done it, well, twice. I drove down to Denver to see some family recently, and then I drove back. And not a drive I would recommend for anyone, but no, Colorado's beautiful. You know,
Listeners of this podcast know how I feel about Wyoming, and it is
Yeah.
not positive.
yeah,
I hate Wyoming.
that's fair. That's fair.
Like in every
I've
sense
been
of the
there
word.
twice, and I'm going to agree with you.
Like Yellowstone Park doesn't count. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
Wyoming doesn't get to just have a national like it's its
We're
own
taking
park.
that back.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't say Grand Canyon is Arizona. It's
Yeah.
not representative of Arizona. Well, Yellowstone is not representative
Yeah.
of Wyoming. Wyoming sucks.
You know, I haven't actually been to Yellowstone yet. I haven't been to Glacier Park either, and that's one that I really want to go to. Like, I've seen a lot of photos. I've had a lot of friends go there. It looks beautiful.
Flathead area is awesome. Like if you go to Flathead Lake, then you could go to Glacier. Like that whole area,
Okay.
it's fantastic. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a lot of friends say the same thing. Up around there is where they go hiking and stuff like that. They'll go camping, you know, go on trips. I don't know exactly how far that is from us here.
It's probably like a good 9-10 hours.
Oh, no kidding. I thought it
Yeah.
was only like 6.
Oh, no, like Glacier.
Okay.
I might
Yeah.
be wrong, but I want to because it's northern.
Yeah.
I want to say it's like 9, maybe. I could be wrong,
Oh, you're probably closer than I am.
but I know Yellowstone's only like 2 or 3.
Oh, that's not bad.
Like it's real close.
yeah.
And I've only been to Yellowstone once, and I live right here.
Oh, really?
I've only ever been one time,
Okay.
but I mean it's cool. But also, I'm not the most outdoorsy person.
I get that. And I feel like even if you were, it's probably not something you would do every weekend, you know.
Some
Or-
people do.
Good for them.
It's
you
not
know.
my thing, but
Yeah, no, my thing is working on weekends.
oh, fun.
Yeah. Much better.
Have you? Well, and then you said you just got possibly a second.
Yeah. Most likely a second job starting Thursday.
Oh, you're gonna start training then? Like they're gonna train.
Not really.
They're just gonna.
I mean, yes and no. So I may go in Monday or Tuesday evening for some training, but it sounded like I'm just gonna start and they're kind of gonna throw like pointers or tips.
Sure.
So
So what? Have you been a door guy before?
I did, yeah. I did for Cheers back in Washington.
Like the Cheers?
I mean, I don't know if it's the Cheers, but like the sports bar Cheers.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I know Cheers the show, and
Oh,
I'm pretty sure
no.
it was based. I think it was based in Washington because, as far as I understand, Frasier is a spin-off from Cheers, and that takes place in Seattle.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
see, I'm not the biggest on like movie shows, stuff like that. So I wouldn't be able to tell you for sure. I know a little bit about bars. So
It might be
yeah,
named after it.
it could be. Yeah. but yeah, I did security for Cheers for a while, and then I did it for another small bar, another small sports bar down on Ruston Way.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was that? Any fun stories out of that? That you had to throw?
I mean,
you're gonna have a few fun stories at the Crystal. I can promise you that.
I believe it. So I actually got the job at the first one. Daryl was the bartender. I didn't work there. I was a customer there. I was there with some friends, and for whatever reason, some guy was like yelling at Daryl, get in his face. He like threw his drink. I don't think he threw it at Daryl. He just like threw his glass down and stuff like that. And they had no security at the time. I don't know if they needed it or not.
Clearly, they might.
I mean, at the moment, they definitely needed it. So, I was good friends with Daryl, so I kind of just walked up and told the dude to piss off. You know, he didn't like that advice. So I ended up kind of dragging him out, tossing him out the door. You know, Daryl was behind me and was like, "Yeah, you're not welcome back here, this, that, and the other." And then after that, Daryl was like, "Do you want to work here?" And I was like, you know, kind of the same position I'm in now. Like I had a job, but I was like, yeah, why not? A lot of my nights are free, so you know, I'll take you up on it. And
as
then
long as they work around, because you have the kid and stuff like that.
Well, now I have the kid. So they've been great. They said they'll work with me on the schedule. They have some other part-time security as well.
Yeah.
And it kind of lines up. From what I've been told, it sounds like it works out perfect as far as like every other weekend goes, and then, you know, whatever days during the week.
Right on. Well, a little extra cash in your pocket. And
yeah, why not?
And who knows, might be a little fun.
Yeah, it could be. Could be. A little excitement never hurt.
Yeah, because you've told me you're MMA trained, right?
I am, yeah.
So tell me about that. Like, what got you into MMA? Like, where's like the origin stories of all that?
This is gonna sound like super cliche and probably the same as like a lot of other people, but Bruce Lee.
Okay.
Like, watching Bruce Lee movies as a child, you know. And I started out really young. I did the first one I did was karate. Did that for a little while, and then I went to Taekwondo. I did that. And then I've done a handful of other ones in between.
Okay.
I quit earlier than I wanted to. Like I took a long break due to school, due to moving. Like I was in a military family, so it was very hard to stay in any one dojo.
Gotcha.
You know? And then it came down to when I was in high school, I didn't have the funds to pay for the classes and stuff like that. So I actually taught for a while. I taught a special needs class, like self-defense, and that was super fun. And they let me do that in order to kind of pay for my own training. But yeah, I miss it. Like I want to get back into it, but
did you ever have any matches or like?
I went to a couple tournaments and stuff like that.
Like Taekwondo tournaments and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, Taekwondo, a couple MMA tournaments. I just didn't stick with the MMA aspect long enough.
Sure.
You know, and again, due to just being broke at the time. But yeah, I want to say out of all of them, I maybe lost 2.
Right on.
Yeah, so it would be cool to get back into it. I want to say Isaiah does it.
Okay. Yeah, he does jiu-jitsu.
Oh, okay, jiu-jitsu, yeah. I remember he mentioned something along those lines, and I was going to ask him more about that.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu is, I mean, there's a few gyms that have popped up here, and we have, I think, at least one mixed martial arts gym that like does does wrestling,
yeah,
boxing, and jiu-jitsu.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, just driving around, I've seen, you know, a handful of karate places, a handful of taekwondo, and some kickboxing and stuff like that, but nothing really that was of interest.
Yeah, no, the Grindhouse, yeah, they do all of it and do classes on different nights and stuff like that. Yeah, it's
something to look into.
That's where all of our like local fighters come out of in like the Fusion Fight League.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember the name of the one Isaiah goes to.
Might be Billings Jiu-Jitsu just right up the street here. Okay. I don't know. There's a few of them, and even the BAC over here on right here on Broadwater and whatever the through street is. They do jiu-jitsu classes there too.
Yeah.
I've never gotten into jiu-jitsu, but I always wanted to get into kickboxing.
Yeah.
And I will one day.
Yeah.
I just either don't have the time, the money, or
it's hard to get all of those things to line up
Yeah.
to allow you to do these things.
Right.
You know? Because like now, well, working at Toyota and now hopefully starting working at the Crystal, I should, in theory, have money. I will be sacrificing even more time. You know, so it's like you don't get all of them. You get one or the other.
Exactly. Well, and then you got the kid too.
Yeah.
So how's that been? First time dad, and how old? Like
he
only
is
a couple months, right?
3.5 months now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going into that, I mean, nervous is an understatement. You know, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was super excited about it, and I still am. It sounds bad to say it. Like I don't think it's fully set in.
Sure.
That like he's real, you know, even though I have him all the time and I'm taking care of him and stuff like that. It's just like looking at him, you know, it's like that's another human that I helped make.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he looks like me. So it's a little weird. But
and I'm sure that'll come a little more once he's more interactive.
Yeah.
And like he can understand what you're saying and like responds to you and
yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, it's been like along those lines, you know, when he was first born, you know, he just slept all the time and he ate and, you know, it's kind of just what babies do. No interaction. And then I think the first big like milestone for me was when his eyes started to like actually focus and then he would stare at you or he'd stare at things or like, you know, start tracking them around the room when they moved and stuff like that. And then most recently it's been like, okay, so it's been 3 months of him crying when he wants something, you know, but like almost no emotion otherwise. He just recently in like the last week started laughing.
Oh,
like, giggling
yeah.
and laughing, and that's just insane. So that's been cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to put myself mentally in a place of understanding what that would be like, and I don't think you can ever really do it until you're in the situation.
There's no way. Like, I mean, I used to babysit other people's kids, you know, like when I was younger, we'd watch family friends' kids and stuff like that, you know, and I've been around tons of babies, small children, toddlers and stuff like that, and like none of that was ever there. You know, there wasn't like any kind of real connection like that, whereas like this one is mine, like my son, my first one, and I'm like so intently watching and like waiting for any little difference, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's always different when it's your kid, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you got that, you feel that responsibility.
Yeah, because, like, you know, before, I mean, I've never understood, like, a lot of people say they hate kids. I never wanted one until I had one.
Sure.
I never hated kids. I actually loved kids because, you know, they're fun, they're funny as hell, and then when they cry, you give them back to their parents. You know,
now you have to.
Yeah, I can't do that now. I've lost that ability because I am the parent. I can't give him.
But you learn to grow patience. I've heard like
Yeah.
patience is like the number one thing that you learn through a child. Like because you have no choice.
Yeah, I mean, what else are you gonna do? You
Yeah.
know, and you know the crying. It's a little nerve wracking at first, especially if like the crying becomes screaming, and it's usually like very temporary. But like they have no other means of communicating.
Right.
You know, so as long as you kind of get past that, because it really can stress you out. You know, if you can't immediately figure out what they need or what they want, you know, you feel really bad because they're, you know, it sounds like they're just in complete and total despair. If they want a bottle and you give it to them while they're screaming at the top of their lungs, they stop. They're great. They're perfect. You know, it wasn't that serious.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you're fairly young, right? How old are you?
27.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
you're about.
I'm getting over
same
the
age.
hill.
We're close to the same
Yeah.
age. I'm 29,
Okay.
so I'm almost old.
Yeah. I feel old,
That dreaded
but
30.
I feel like that's not going to be that bad.
Yeah, well, it won't be, but it's that number that is like I'm not 20 anymore.
It's another mile marker.
Yeah, not when I want to get there. So, but I still got half a year, so
Yeah.
and I'm planning on enjoying it. It's been. I got all these different trips going on now. Like it's all
Yeah.
kind of just like culminating which
That's
is cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing stuff again. Like there was a good while there I just felt stagnant, like I wasn't really doing anything. Dude, this last one we went to Missoula. By the way, for anybody, I keep boasting about Sober October. Definitely broke my Sober October that weekend.
Yeah, I believe it.
Well, you can't go on a 3-day trip with my cousin Aaron and not get roped into drinking.
Yeah.
I just kind of submitted to the inevitability of that.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to at that point.
Yeah. But, dude, it was a good time. I'll tell you that. Here's the story I'll tell you from the trip. We were in this bar called the Bodega. It's like a sports bar.
Okay.
And we had gone there the night before, just quick in and out. We were kind of just bar hopping.
Yeah.
Dude, okay. Also, just a side note, the Pie Hole. It's a pizza place. It's just like Brooklyn style pizza. I think it's Brooklyn style pizza. I might be wrong about that, but it's really good. And they stay open till like 2 a.m. So everybody files in there, and you just line up, and then you just order it by the slice.
Oh, that's cool.
Big old slices.
Yeah.
And then they'll just heat it up in the oven for like 30 seconds because it's hot ass oven.
Yeah.
And then it was like $3 a slice. Big slices. We got
That's not bad at all.
Dude, we went both nights we were there because it was just so good.
Yeah. You can't believe you for that. I mean, I was actually talking about that the other day. I don't remember who I was asking. I asked about, because someone mentioned pizza, and I've had some good pizza here, and then some like really greasy stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know of any local places here in Billings that do it by the slice.
Yeah, there's just like the one in the mall, but like,
okay.
And it's like overly expensive and
yeah,
it's meh. But yeah, you're right. There's really no by the slice place. That would be awesome to have downtown.
That was, I mean, okay, yeah, back to the topic of, what I thought of Billings. That was a huge loss for me moving here, was the food options.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really, that didn't come to mind when thinking about moving here and stuff like that. There's no good seafood, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
We're
Well, especially when you're coming from over there to here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to find... There's really no good seafood, no real good Chinese food.
Yep.
I mean, average Mexican food at best.
Yeah.
That
was slightly disappointing. I mean, I want to say, like, okay, one redeeming feature was the amount of food trucks here. Because that's a huge thing in Seattle as well.
And that's grown. Like, it wasn't like that 6-7 years ago. Like, it's gotten a...
Okay.
So that is a bright light that I didn't really think about. I wish they would park them around downtown during the night, but I think it's just so sketchy at night that, like... Because Missoula does that. They'll have food trucks on every corner. And it is kind of fun just to, like, have those options. Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of how Seattle was. Like, there's a ton of breweries, and the breweries don't have food there. So they would all offer a spot, like a dedicated parking spot for a food truck, and they'd all kind of rotate throughout the week, depending on which one they're going to be at. So you could either follow your favorite food truck, or you could just go to your favorite brewery and try get a new food truck, on different nights. So that was cool, and that was something I was kind of sad about losing when I moved here, but yeah, like I said, there's a lot of them here. Yeah. And I want to say there's going to be like more and more. And
they've been doing those
getting better.
They've been doing those food truck battles and stuff like that. So they're kind of making it a thing to where those are going to be more popular, I think. Yeah. And that, well, not to mention just it's cheaper, I think, for the owners to just own the truck rather than own like a building that they got to lease and all that stuff. But
as I say, lower overhead, much smaller staff.
Yeah. Well, and there's been an uptick in more local restaurants than when I was a kid. It used to just be franchise. Now it's a little bit more, I feel like at least, more hole in the wall, a few extra spots here and there, but nothing like I can imagine what Seattle would bring. Or even like when we were in Missoula, there's a lot of those hole in the wall spots.
Okay. Yeah, I can't say I've really been anywhere else in Montana other than Billings.
Bozeman and Missoula are pretty fun. Like, I kind of, on my last solo episode, I kind of trashed Missoula, which I should take back because I had a really good time. Like, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And let me tell you this, too. So many hot chicks.
Yeah.
Like, that game, we went to the football game.
Yeah.
It was just like every which way you looked. And which was hard because the ages were kind of questionable. So
Okay, I mean that's understandable, but yeah, I mean that's one good thing about college towns.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I feel like you said about trashing Missoula, I feel like that's a view that's shared with a lot of residents of Billings. Like,
see,
whenever I mention Missoula or Bozeman to like locals here, I don't hear anything good.
and there's really nothing wrong with either of them. They're both just big college towns.
Yeah,
So I think most people, it's like a political thing
yeah,
as to
I
why
get
they don't
that.
like those towns. They're both really beautiful. Like, they
Yeah.
really are.
Well, it just sounds like, most people dislike them for the same reasons they don't like Seattle.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
And even still, it's Montana liberal, which is still fairly purple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like,
get that.
it's and it's just, I guess you get that younger crowd, which I personally don't mind.
Yeah, no, I don't mind it at all. I mean, like you said, yeah, it's a younger crowd. They're still forming their own opinions and ideas.
And it didn't really feel that politically motivated when I was there. It just like seemed
Yeah.
like a regular, and who knows, I don't live there. I guess the
Yeah.
other thing would be is they are a little more expensive just because they are very desirable places to be.
Yeah, that's true.
And like the show Yellowstone definitely didn't help.
Yeah.
That everyone wants to move to Missoula because that's where that show is from.
Yeah,
And Bozeman is
that's
just
what they saw.
right. And Bozeman's
Yeah.
just kind of where a lot of money is. Like that's where a lot of
Okay.
celebrities move to
Yeah.
and stuff like that. As far as like have second homes and
Yeah.
things, CEOs. So it's a little bit more like hoity-toity
A
there.
little more uppity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's why I prefer Missoula.
Okay.
And trust me, I had a good time. Real quick, I gotta get back to that story I was gonna tell you.
Yeah.
We were at the bodega, and so it's me, Aaron, and one of Aaron's old high school friends. Real cool dude. We're all just sitting at the bar. Aaron starts flirting with this girl next to him. Pretty good looking gal, and she's got a friend with her and and this guy. So it's these two girls and this guy.
Okay.
And he just starts kind of flirting with this girl. And like immediately he's like, something's weird about this chick. And he notices a ring on her finger. So he's like, okay,
Yeah.
she's taken. But she's kind of fucked up. Whether it's on drugs or alcohol or whatever.
yeah.
Like something's up with her. So he's like immediately like, okay, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So those girls were liking the attention. So they come over to me and Aaron's friend and start talking to us.
Okay.
And so we're just small talking, whatever.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm sitting there, and I feel my shoulder getting like bumped. I'm like, what's going on? I look behind me. This dude's like, the guy that was in the group,
Oh yeah.
he's getting like pushed back into me because the good-looking gal is the one with the ring is like grind dancing. on
Oh
him.
shit.
So I'm like, okay, so this
Yeah.
must be her husband, right?
I mean, that's a safe assumption.
Right.
Yeah.
So then Aaron's buddy gets up. He was sitting right next to me. She sits down. She starts talking to me. Okay, we're just small talking, whatever.
Yeah.
And Buddy, who was getting bumped into me, who I assume is her husband, says, "This is my cousin."
Oh no.
And I'm like, oh, interesting. And as he's telling me this, and I'm trying to process all of this.
Yeah.
First of all, I should have mentioned she had her like hand on my knee and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like freaking out when he was like talking to me. And then he told me
Yeah.
it's his cousin.
That makes it better.
A little bit. Not so much. Not
Yeah.
like it's kind of a gray area. She jumps up on the bar. And the security guy immediately comes over. He's like, "Hey, you got to get
Yeah.
down." So she slides down into my lap, full stripper style, and just starts like grind dancing on
Yeah.
me. Her cousin's just like, "Yeah,"
Oh no.
and I'm like, "Don't get me wrong,
yeah.
I don't mind that,
Yeah.
but I also don't like being made a spectacle in the bar where
That's-
it's like everybody's watching."
That's
Like,
understandable.
so I'm like trying to be nice about like get the fuck
Yeah.
off me. So I kind of, eventually she kind of does.
Yeah.
Because I think she could tell I wasn't really
Didn't
digging
want to
it.
be the main event. Yeah.
And I was like, I'll be right back. So I like go to the bathroom. Didn't actually have to go to the bathroom. It just was an excuse to get up.
Yeah.
Come back and I go up to Aaron had already like walked outside. I go up to Aaron's buddy. I'm like, dude, it's time to leave. It's getting really weird in here.
Yeah.
So the cousin thing was like the most bizarre thing to me out of all of it.
Yeah, no, that's a little odd. I mean,
So she was married, grinding on her cousin, and then also just grinding on random dudes in the bar.
yeah, well, with the cousin cheering her on.
Right.
Yeah. See, that's what got me. I mean, well, okay, not to say that grinding on your cousin didn't get me too, but, you know.
All of it was weird.
Yeah.
So I was like, and she was good. She was very good looking. So that's what I was like, even more
Yeah.
like the whole situation was hard. So I was just like, we got to go. Like,
I mean-
if we stick around here, things are just going to escalate.
Oh, yeah. Things would have probably gotten a bit freaky, you know,
100%.
but, no, that's funny.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was the takeaway story of the trip. Everything else was fairly normal.
Yeah.
We had a good time though. We were tailgating outside the game and whatnot. Like it was
Oh,
just
yeah.
nice little getaway,
Yeah.
relatively cheap.
I mean, yeah, nice to get out of Billings now and then. You know, like I said, my trip down to visit family in Colorado was not nearly as exciting, but it was great. You know, just kind of a spontaneous out and back for like the 3-4 day weekend I had. So
Well, that's nice when you have family because you have somebody to stay with, and
yeah,
you don't got to worry about hotels and things like that.
yeah, booking, planning, none of those are my strong point. You know,
Right.
I'm just kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna grab a bag and I'm gonna head out and see what happens.
See, my problem with booking and stuff is I don't want to stay at like a roach motel.
Yeah,
So I will actively try and find a nicer one, which is in turn expensive.
yeah. Yeah,
And I
mean,
don't do the Airbnbs. Like, I'm not a fan of those.
I say that's kind of where you get caught in between is like you're trying to get the nicest place you can, but you're also trying to get the cheapest place you can.
Yeah.
So, you know,
And you find yourself, it's just a no-win situation,
Yeah.
really. But
Yeah.
we had a good time. And we stayed in like an average hotel, I guess.
that's good. Yeah.
So it was walking distance from downtown. That was nice.
Yeah, it's convenient.
You should check out Missoula sometime. It would, like, we should just make a trip down there, honestly.
I'd
Like,
be down.
get some of the
Yeah.
boys and... It's
Yeah,
a
that'd be
fun
cool.
weekend trip. Like, you can literally go... We could go after work on a Friday, not even have to miss any work.
Yeah.
Get down there, and then spend the weekend, come back late Sunday. It's
Because Missoula's, I mean, I've driven through it. How far is that from here?
like 4.5, 5
4.5?
hours.
Okay, yeah.
At most 5 hours, yeah.
Yeah. That's not bad.
No, and Bozeman's you could go on a day trip to Bozeman. You could literally
Yeah.
leave Saturday morning, come back Sunday evening. Like, because it's only like 2 hours.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. Yeah, see, I was thinking Missoula was like 4 hours, but like I said, when I drove here from Washington, I drove down here to get the U-Haul, drove it straight back, loaded it, loaded my other car on a trailer, and then drove back again. So I drove like 45 hours in like 3 days.
Okay.
So I have like a real bad memory of how far things were from each other because I
Well-
was just like blowing through town, both directions as fast as possible.
And that's the other thing is speed can change your
Yeah.
time of arrival.
Yeah.
We made it to Missoula one time in 4 hours and one speeding ticket later,
Yeah. I mean,
but
was
we made it
worth
there in 4.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It was a good one. Yeah, we went down for a concert that time. I was
Okay.
going to ask you too, because you're into music. You
Yeah.
play drums and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Do you still currently play? Or?
I don't. I've just kind of been a lazy piece of shit. Like, I have my drums, I just haven't had the time necessarily to play them. Between work and the kid, and now another job. But yeah, no, I keep talking about it. I want to get back into it. I stopped for quite a while, due to the move, and then due to having my shop in Washington, that I didn't realize was gonna put an end to like all my other hobbies.
Well, that's hard too when it's like a business that you're trying to run.
Yeah, see, everyone like, and myself included, was under the impression like if you work for yourself, you make your own hours, you work when you want. That's got to be the biggest lie I've ever heard told.
Yeah.
Like, when you work for yourself, you're always working.
Yeah. Because it's your business.
just never ends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're always on call. You're always like
Yeah.
having to keep up with everything.
Yeah. I mean, I don't regret it at all. It would have been nice to keep up on my other hobbies, like snowboarding, for example. I haven't gone snowboarding in like the last 3 years. Hoping to go this year.
Yeah, there's
So-
some good hills here.
Yeah, I've heard there's some
mountains.
cool places around here. But yeah, I've been, wanting to get back into playing the drums. I've actually been considering trying to relearn the guitar again.
Oh, nice.
I was in, is it Ekroth?
Oh yeah, just right down here.
Yeah, just the other day, and I was so close to buying a guitar, but I was like, oh, no time,
Guitars and amps just right over there too. That's another good one.
Okay, yeah.
It's just right up the street this way.
I wanted to see if there was any other, music shops and stuff like that before I went
And then
with
there's
something they had.
Hanson's too. Hanson's over on 24th.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple good ones.
Yeah, it's a little different, the music stores here as opposed to Washington because like it's not music stores, it's just store, it's Guitar Center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we could get a Guitar Center here. That'd be pretty sweet. They'd probably put those small ones out of business.
Yeah, that's kind of, the unfortunate side effect of that, and their prices aren't super appealing.
Yeah, I'm sure not. Were you in bands?
I gigged with a few. I was never in one myself.
Okay.
I just wasn't good enough and didn't have the time to commit to being in any of them, so I would say I dabbled in it.
Sure.
And it was like very, very small stuff, like very local places around town.
Still fun though.
Oh, it was a ton of fun, and that's kind of what I miss about it. But it was very hard. I don't know how it is for other musicians, or should I say like people who play other musical instruments, but like for me playing the drums, it was very hard to find the rest of the parts that I needed,
sure,
to form something that sounded good. I'd either have like two guitarists and no bassist, or vocalists. I want to say were the hardest thing to find.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting because you feel like
say a good one.
I feel
yeah.
Okay. There you go.
I was gonna say. I mean, we've all been to the Crystal. We've all heard karaoke. Anyone can sing. Should they?
Yeah. Should everybody? Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, it was cool. The short stints that did work, that did last. But
right on. Well, yeah. I mean, at least you dabbled in it.
Yeah, it'd be something that I would consider getting back into it again. It'd just be kind of like finding the motivation first, really, because like I do have time to practice.
Yeah.
It's just like the motivation after work and stuff like that is like, is that what I want to do right now? Is just even more physical exertion.
Yeah, I totally get that. Well, I mean, for me, as far as band stuff goes, it's just singing, so that doesn't feel like that much of a physical commitment, but it is a time commitment. You get
definitely.
And effort, you put in a mental effort and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I totally get that as far as after work wanting to do all that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just been hard to like keeping a set schedule with like so many variables and things changing, I mean, and mostly that's in reference to having the kid and then, the split custody with his mother, that's kind of it's going back and forth. Nothing's really set in stone. So it's hard to make, plans like, let's say I want to practice the drums every Monday and every Thursday, like after work, that may or may not hold up for more than a week.
Right. Well, hopefully eventually down the road you'll get a little bit more steady thing. It's still relatively new of a situation.
No, I'm sure once we get that, kind of ironed out, then I would actually have a good idea of the time that I could dedicate to doing that.
Well, and we got winter coming up, so you'll have hopefully some time for snowboarding and a few of those other little things like that.
I mean, honestly, work has been so slow, I could just bring my drums to work.
And just drum out.
Yeah, dude.
Everyone brings their dogs and stuff, so you might as well bring some instruments.
Right? Yeah, we just sit there and have a little garage band.
Have Drew can bring the guitar.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, that'd be funny.
That'd be awesome.
I don't know how Mike would feel about it, but...
Yeah, that's hard to say, honestly. Just throw it in the back shop there. Nobody ever comes back there.
True. Oh, especially when it gets cold out. No one's going to want to walk from the main building to the back one.
Well, and finally we got some heaters back there, so it at least stays warm.
Finally?
Yeah, well...
You were just kicking it back there without heaters?
We always had heaters.
Okay.
But it was always like one heater, and it was it was fueled by oil. So if we ran out of oil back there, we'd have to go like find oil from like other spots and fill it up. Now it's gas powered from like natural gas. A little more
modernized.
That's fine. And there's two of them, so the whole shop stays nice and warm.
That's good. I mean, so when I was in Washington, I worked briefly for a vehicle importer. Um, very, very shady shop that I ended up leaving just because like I couldn't back what they were doing, and how they operated. But it's funny you mentioned the heating situation because we were in this shop, and I mean we fit what 35 40 cars in this shop, so it was a good size. There was no heat, and again, like Washington really doesn't get that bad, but when it does, like we were basically just in this warehouse freezing our ass off. So what does the owner do? He buys this little propane powered like torch heater, and it was hilarious because it was hot as hell, and it would run for about 15 minutes, and then the little propane tank hooked to it would freeze solid. So
Jesus.
yeah, excuse me. So we ended up putting the propane tank in front of the heater to keep it thawed.
But that's also kind of dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. I had no idea. Like, again, in hindsight, I was like, man, that thing could have exploded.
But the things you would do to freaking stay warm.
Right? Just to try and stay warm. But yeah, this shop here is actually the first I've been to that had a swamp cooler, AC essentially.
Oh, yeah. See, ours, we don't got that back there.
Yeah. No,
so summer we melt,
yeah.
But at least in the winter we don't freeze.
Yeah. I mean, I would say this is like the most modern shop I've worked at. And I've worked at a few other dealerships and a handful of independent shops.
Yeah.
So I was pretty happy coming here and finding this job, although like I said, I moved here in December and it did take until I want to say I found the job and got hired early March.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't start until March 16th.
So what did you do in the between time?
I looked for work. I was bored out of my mind. The one upside was like I did get to do a lot of exploring.
Okay.
And
did you just have some money saved up or what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I liquidated a ton of stuff back in Washington. I mean, and this is even funnier. So I was without work here in Montana from like, let's say January until March. After closing my shop and selling off all of that and like the cars I had left over, because I was importing cars from Japan as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. We'll get to that here in a little bit.
So after in preparation of moving, I was without work in Washington for almost 6 months. So I was right around a year of being unemployed.
Oh, wow.
Before starting again at Toyota. And that was like just like at first it was super nice. I was like, this is cool. I feel like I'm retired. And then it kind of hit me and I was like, retirement is fucking boring. So yeah, very happy to, be back to work with a good shop. And then, I mean, I'm a little bit of a workaholic. I asked what my schedule was when I got hired here. And he's like, come in at like 7 or 8. And I was like, okay, cool. What time am I off? He was like, you're flat rate. Like, leave if there's no work. I was like, okay, And then I was coming in for a while, hour early, staying until I got kicked out. Like, they closed the shop. I was coming in every weekend. Again, that's when we were busy. But, now that it's died down, kind of why I was interested in the second job was just, kind of something to fill the time. But
well, the one thing that's nice, I feel like for you guys at least in the shop is you still get customer work. Like do you do much customer work?
I do. It doesn't necessarily come from my writer. Like I don't know what to call it. Like they're pawned off or like hand-me-downs by other people, like other people's overflow. And I don't know if it's my writer that's not giving me the work, or I want to say it's the scheduling department. They're not booking her a lot of jobs.
Gotcha.
Because everyone on our team is kind of left without
the customer side of
the customer stuff. I do mainly warranty stuff.
Okay.
A lot of internal stuff. But yeah, as far as the customer jobs go, the last few that I've had have been big jobs. Like the engine on that Dodge Ram.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I work at Toyota, but here we have a Dodge Ram that I'm doing an engine in. Stuff like that. I mean, today I had almost 12 hours worth of work on one rig, everything from struts, brakes, the works basically. And that's something I found odd is like, I don't know how many Toyota dealerships there are in like the surrounding areas, but
Mhm.
like this particular customer drove almost 4 hours,
Really?
for like a noise complaint.
Well, I know we got Bozeman has one, Missoula has one, Great Falls has one.
Okay.
I think that I don't remember if Helena has one or not, but
Well, this guy was from Wyoming. So I don't blame him for leaving
sure.
Wyoming,
Yeah.
to come see like a nicer area, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's like a ton between, in like a big radius of
I want to
here.
say when I drove to Denver, I only saw one other Toyota, and it was either like just inside Wyoming, like near Colorado, or it was in Colorado. I really can't recall exactly where that one was.
I would imagine Cheyenne has one and maybe Casper, but
Yeah,
other than that, yeah, it's kind of up in the air
yeah.
from my thought, but yeah. So where did your like mechanic skills where did that develop? Like when did you start liking doing cars and
That's got to be the biggest question. I don't know. I have no clue.
it just
Like no one in my family is mechanically inclined. No one worked on cars. Like if anything broke, we went to a dealership.
yeah
You know.
yeah
So I really don't know exactly where I picked it up. I guess like my reasoning would be like I destroyed a ton of my toys as a kid.
mm,
Like okay, so we had remote control cars, but they were attached by a wire to the controller.
hmm
You know, they weren't wireless at the time. Um, I remember I cut the wire, just because I wanted it to be wireless. Guess what? I broke it.
yeah
I was fucked. But yeah, so I took a ton of stuff apart and nothing ever went back together. And my parents got real tired of replacing these things. Um, so eventually I started putting things back together. And, albeit these are toys, I did the exact same thing when I bought my first car. There was nothing wrong with it. Like it ran fine.
yeah
I just kind of wanted to know how it worked and I tore this thing apart. Huge mistake. It took forever, but I put it back together. I don't think it ran the same or as well, But yeah, and then after that I was kind of, juggling career paths and I did construction for a while. I apprenticed as a plumber. I did like sheetrocking, I did tile. I've helped build a couple houses, some apartments, stuff like that. Um it just nothing that really interested me. And then I ended up going to school to be an automotive technician.
hmm
And it just came kind of naturally, and that's kind of what the backstory was for. I think that might be why, because the whole gig, is people bring you things,
that are
they tell you
broken
there's a noise, a vibration, they felt something, they heard something, and then you find it,
yeah
verify it, find it, and then tear it apart and put it back together. And that's basically like the whole gist of it.
where'd you go to school?
I went to Bates in Tacoma.
Okay,
Yeah.
how long a program is that?
2 years.
Okay,
Yeah. And then right after that, I went in. First automotive job was for a Chevrolet dealership.
okay.
Yeah. And, I was kind of naive in thinking, I was like, hey, I went to school. Let me skip the lube rack. They're like, absolutely not. Go change oil. Yeah. So
You gotta get the basic stuff right.
yeah, I mean, and a lot of it too. And I feel like it's changed a little bit since I've been turning wrenches. A lot of shops I worked at, like, they do not care what school you went to. Like,
Yeah.
you go to Wyotech, doesn't matter. If you're not 50 years old and don't have 40 years of wrenching under your belt, no one cares.
Yeah.
And that kind of bothered me too, because like sure, you got these old techs that have been doing it their entire life and they know a lot. The problem is if they're not doing continued education, they're starting to know less and less, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Because as new technology comes out, everything they know, the old stuff is falling off. We're
Yep.
seeing less of it and less of it. So, in a sense, I'm not going to say I know more than them or, they know more than me. It's kind of like a trade off. We both know certain things and it'd just be a lot better, if we like help each other out in places that the other lacks. But, like I said, there's just kind of that like old timer mentality. Where you
Sure.
gotta do your time, put in your years. Um, but yeah.
So, when did you go to school? You must have been pretty like right out of high school then.
Yeah. I actually, so right out of high school, I actually went, to Bates, in downtown Tacoma for fire protection engineering.
Oh,
And I did that for almost a year and it was super boring. Um, would have paid well, wouldn't have been a bad career, you know, but I had no real interest in a desk job. Like I didn't want to
yeah,
sit
fuck
there
that.
and design, fire suppression systems for commercial buildings on AutoCAD. Like it was just
I remember doing
painful.
AutoCAD in high
Painful.
school. We did AutoCAD.
Yeah. Um, like I did well in the class. I just hated it, and I ended up dropping out. And then that's when I switched over to the South Campus for the
Okay.
automotive program.
So you get out of that probably around what 21, 22 years old.
Yeah.
So from then to you opening your own shop is a pretty short
Yeah,
time.
it was. I mean, I honestly like opening my own shop was it was not planned, not well thought out, It was honestly kind of out of spite cuz like I was working so I was working at this independent shop. It was a great gig. Like had I stayed there another year, I would have made 110, 120 grand.
Damn.
We were doing a lot of fleet work. We had tons of customer work. We were, like I said, flat rate at almost every shop I've worked at. It was all very easy work, mostly maintenance stuff. But because it was a huge fleet company out in Washington, um, I'm sorry, a huge company with a large fleet of company vehicles, they paid very well. The problem was kind of back to the old timers mentality. That shop was absolutely full of them.
Hmm.
And slow season is everywhere. Like you can't escape that. It got slow, and the owner of that shop was there like every day, and this is a huge like pet peeve of mine. Like if you're an owner of a shop, you shouldn't be there managing it.
Hmm.
When you have management,
Yeah.
why are you there walking around telling people what to do and how to do their job? It just irks me.
Just that
Like, let the people you hired to do that do that.
breathing down your neck over your
Yeah,
shoulder, like, and you don't really know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So, it kind of came down to it where it got real slow. This dude's son worked there. He had no schedule. Like he would show up whenever, leave whenever, but anytime he was there, they would give him tons of work. All the while I'm sitting there asking if there's work and they're like, no, we got nothing. So basically like the last week that I worked there, I flagged 6 hours in a week.
Jeez,
Yeah. And like, I understand, shops getting slow, but not that
that's
slow.
crazy. Yeah.
Like it got to the point where they were like withholding work and giving it to,
Other people.
the techs they wanted to and keeping them fed instead of, hurting everyone in the sense of like evening it out and giving, work out to people as it comes in. They were
Yeah.
just kind of piling it and keeping one or two people, full on hours. And I told him, I was like, look, man, I'm here every morning, half an hour early. Even though I know I'm probably not going to get any work. And he was just like, I remember he was just like, goddamn millennials don't want to work these days, whatever. And I was like, okay, I was
Like,
like,
I just told you I want to work.
yeah, I was like, that's why I'm here early every day. And then I asked, or after lunch, I'd be like, is there anything else coming in? They'd be like, no. And I was like, all right, I'm going to leave. And like I said, yeah, he walked through the shop, he mumbled that, and I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. What'd you say? And he was like, pack your shit and get the hell out of my shop. And I was like, okay. So, I locked up, went home for the day, Came back the next morning, and he was like, "Oh, I want to talk to you with the shop foreman in my office." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I go in there, and he's like, "Did you think about what I had to say?" And I was like, the part where you told me to pack up my shit and get the fuck out." And the foreman loved me. You know, we got along great. And he was like, "What?" He was like, "Why would you say it to Luke?" He's like, "Well, that's not what I meant." And I was like, "Wait." I was like, "So you didn't fire me yesterday?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "Cool, I quit." You know, and I
Oh.
packed up my stuff and I left. And so, yeah, with my last paycheck, I was like, what if, kind of spurred the moment. I was like, what if I open my own shop? And I had, like, with that job getting slower and slower, I had started piling up, side work.
Mm.
So I knew out of the gate I had like 2 months booked out of work. So I was like, why not? You know, I did that, and it did all right starting out. And then I started importing cars from Japan, like the right-hand drive sports cars, stuff like that. Bringing those over, fix them up, building them, and then selling them.
Smart.
Yeah, and that kind of helped because if it got slow as far as like the maintenance stuff went,
You still had something to work on.
yeah, I had something else to do and something else to try and sell and something, to help keep the lights on, stuff like that. I was unaware that most like new businesses or like small businesses don't turn a profit for like the first 2 to 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like I said, I didn't go to school to run a business.
Mhm.
Like I'm not management,
Yeah.
I ended up being like, I had employees, I had the shop, like things started picking up and like going pretty well. We were making as a shop, what, 7, 10K every 2 weeks, and that's not bad for a shop that's got like 3 people,
Right.
very small shop.
But then you still got bills to pay,
Yeah,
out of the business and
yeah, it wasn't bad because our overhead was super low. Most of what we did wasn't maintenance. It was people's weekend cars, their toys, their track cars, stuff like that. We built a few drag cars that ended up going down to Texas and racing.
cool.
One I know went to Canada. I actually started doing. I had another shop in Ferndale outsourcing cars to me, and then I would repair them for them and send them back. So that was cool, getting work like that. COVID absolutely destroyed like any hope for keeping that shop open out there. And that was another big factor in deciding to come here.
Yeah, I'm sure. I can't imagine like that area had. I know a lot of places handled that shit really poorly,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it was like full on
was-
lockdown.
Oh, it was so bad. Yeah, I mean, it got to the point where we were thinking, are we going to get in trouble for literally going to this store?
Yeah,
Like, it was strict out there, and then of course the people out there were, just going ape shit over this. As soon as they mentioned COVID, everything, like all the stores got cleaned out, and then you've got all these people walking around with like literally 2 or 3 face masks over each other.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can breathe through
Yeah.
those things. But yeah, it was kind of chaotic. And then, I mean, I know just a minute ago I said it was a good thing that we did like people's toys and stuff because it was fun. We did a lot of fabrication, but the downside to that is when COVID hit, everyone that like lost their job because they were, put on hold or like laid off or they went remote and stuff like that. The first thing to go, like when you're cutting your expenses because your income just dropped,
your toys
is your fucking toys. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that almost did us in right there. Like I said, it was good. We were doing the imports because, people out of state or just people with money didn't care and we're still buying cars like that. But
So how did you get into that? Like what goes into importing cars like that?
okay, so the shop that I mentioned where we were like putting the propane tank in front of the heater,
Yeah.
that was an import shop.
Okay.
Very small. It's gotten a little bigger. And that became a thing because the guy that ran that lives in Okinawa.
Oh wow.
His wife is military stationed there.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got all this free time sitting over there and he was like, why not, buy cars and send them back to the States and sell them. And that was fine. Like it's a good business model. Like I said, it was super shady shop. A lot of the cars they were bringing over had been previously wrecked. They were getting resprayed. Like it was a mess, and none of that was being, told to the customers or,
Sure.
potential buyers. So I worked there a very short time. And during that time, I realized that like the owner wasn't actually going out and looking at any of these cars because we'd get them in and I'd inspect them and be like, oh, did you know it had this, that, or the other? And he'd be like, no, it doesn't. Or, I'm like, I thought you were.
I just told you it does.
Yeah, I'm like, I thought you were going and looking at them because he would tell people that. Like, I'm personally inspecting this car. Like, you're gonna get a good one because I'm literally here in Japan.
Yeah.
He had other people doing it. So I ended up meeting those people, and I made a really good friend in Tokyo. And so when I left there, I was like, I wonder. Like, I knew that guy.
Oh, you went to Tokyo?
I didn't. No, but I met this guy. Like,
when you
over the computer, basically. And I was like, I knew he handled a lot of paperwork, but I wasn't sure entirely what he did or what he could do. So I ended up hitting him up, and I was like, hey, what would it take for me to get a car from Japan? Like, can you assist with that? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. So long story short, it came down to me finding a car online, or, in a classified listing in Japan. Excuse me. And then I would send it to him and be like, hey, I'm interested in this. Can you talk to the owner or the seller? Because I don't speak Japanese.
Right.
Luckily, he is fluent. So he would talk to him, find out any of the details. Depending on where the car was, he could go look at it, or he had friends that would go look at other ones, and then get, more pictures and stuff like that. Because a lot of them listed online, they have one photo, two photos maybe,
Yeah.
Like buying a car sight unseen is
Very
nerve-wracking.
risky. Yeah.
Very risky. So it was great to have him there, helping as much as he did. And then, he would also, if I wanted to buy the car, he'd negotiate with the seller and stuff like that. And then if we made the purchase, he handled all of the export paperwork, which was just outstanding because it's all in Japanese again,
Right.
So you would have to go through like a third party agency or use a broker on that side. And then you have to deal with the problem of picking the car up, transporting it to the port,
Yeah, so did it get shipped by...
Yeah, loading it on a boat.
Yeah.
And then shipping it. He handled all that. It was great. And then...
So what's his cut?
He got a flat $1,000 for every car.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's not that much for all that.
It's not, no. Most of the time...
It's a good deal for you.
I was going to say, okay, so he made $1,000, and then I paid all the expenses as far as like inland transportation, trucking it to the port,
How
paid
much
all the
does something like that
documentation
cost?
fees. It just depends how far it was.
Gotcha.
Putting it on a boat and shipping it here was like $1,200 itself. People always think that shit. Well, okay, I'm sorry. These are pre-COVID prices. It skyrocketed.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is now since I'm here and I don't bring cars into Tacoma anymore, or at least not currently. But yeah, so like all in all, it was relatively inexpensive as long as you knew the right people. Because you go to buy one of these things. For instance, the black Sylvia I had that I brought here to Montana, like my personal car, that I ended up just selling. That car was $4,800.
With all expenses and everything, or what?
$4,800 purchased, landed. It was right around $6,000.
Okay.
I put in, wheels, paint, bodywork, and stuff, not including labor since I did it all. Maybe another $2,000. So I'm in this thing $8,000, and turned around and sold it for $25,000.
Hell yeah.
Hell
yeah.
Yeah. So like, there's a huge profit margin on these cars.
Yeah.
I bought one.
And you sold that one here, didn't you?
I did, but I sold it to someone in Oregon.
Oh, okay,
yeah. So we shipped it back. Like I bought a Toyota, and before I even got it on a boat out of Japan, I sold it for 3 times what I bought it for. Like the cars were hot. People wanted them.
Well, it's different. It's
yeah. It's something
exotic.
It's something cool. It's not something you see every day.
Not at all. That one you had was freaking sick.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of sad I let that go, but it's not something I can't do again,
Exactly, yeah.
So,
Well, and the Evo is pretty sick.
yeah, it leaves a little work, but
Well, yeah, but it's still
yeah.
a cool car.
Yeah, that's fun. I figured like the Sylvia was absolutely not made for Montana. Like the roads here, the weather here,
It would have just been like a summer ride.
Yeah, literally a few nice days out of the year, So I was like, nah.
Which is why it's so crazy when I see people driving Corvettes and shit like that. And I was like, you clearly got a few vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so.
I mean, nobody ever has a Corvette and that's it.
Okay. I was gonna say I have a friend that has a Corvette, and I was gonna say that's it, but I'm pretty sure he also has a Ford Focus.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have an everyday driver.
Yeah,
and then like your fun vehicle.
Yeah,
if you're gonna do that, because you couldn't drive that thing around here.
No, God,
year
no.
round. Or like people that buy Supras and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that's
That's why I opted for the Evo. It's all-wheel drive. It's still turboed. It's still a sports car.
Well, and then you still got that truck.
Yeah, true. Got a truck to haul things. But yeah, I was really leaning toward getting a Forder. Especially with having the kid.
Sure.
I wouldn't really feel comfortable putting him in the back of the Sylvia.
Yeah.
Just kind of a little too old of a car, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't really have any safety features. Like, it had a roll cage. Not trying to put the baby in an actual race car. So,
Yeah. Well, that's at least fatherly thinking. So.
Yeah, a little bit,
You're thinking responsibly.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you this, too, just going back to music. Did you ever go to any concerts at the Gorge?
I did not.
Oh, see, that's on my bucket list.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think it was just timing.
Sure.
Between work and everything. Like, I know there was a ton there, and I never went. I went to the White River Amphitheater, but I never got around to going to the Gorge.
Yeah, that's just one that's on my list, man.
Yeah.
I've been to Red Rocks.
Okay.
And that's a must see.
Yeah.
But the Gorge is definitely on my list too.
Yeah.
Just those outdoor shows, there's something different about them.
Yeah, like I've seen, media from the shows there, and they look amazing.
Yeah.
And every time, like, I'd see an event coming up, I'd be like, oh, don't really have time. Just wasn't, feeling it. And then afterwards, I'd see all the pictures and stuff. I'm like, man, why did I not go,
Right.
But I don't know. Like I said, I wouldn't move back to Washington, but it's a cool place to visit.
Oh, dude, I enjoyed my time there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it's too far-fetched that I wouldn't go back for a concert or something like that, you know? But
yeah, and even like, well, Oregon's pretty, I love that whole upper northwest area.
Yeah.
Including Idaho and here, and that's just the whole area is really cool, so.
Yeah, like the entirety of the Pacific Northwest is probably like the better place out of like everywhere I've lived. And like I said, military family, I was on the East Coast quite a bit. I lived in Texas. I've lived in Michigan.
Oh, damn.
Like I haven't been to every state, but I've like covered all four corners pretty well.
Yeah, about seen all the regions.
Yeah.
What was the worst?
Texas.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I almost said Michigan just because like it gets cold there. Like my family's like right on the water. You can stand there and see Canada. But like the wind and the cold, that's bad, but it's not the worst. No, Texas had to have been the worst.
For what reasons?
The heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the heat and just like I don't know. I mean, I would tie it with Nebraska. For just being like
boring,
flat, boring, absolutely nothing to do.
What part of Texas was it?
Near San Antonio.
Oh, okay, see, I've been to San Antonio. I liked San Antonio.
Yeah. Well, it's just I don't know. I look at it as another great place to visit.
Yeah.
It's
humid too.
Yeah. Like I would enjoy going there knowing that I have like an end date of when I'm gonna be there.
Yep.
Living there, not so much.
I can understand that. Yeah, I feel the same way about Phoenix. Like Phoenix was really fun, but I've never been there in the summer, and I imagine
Okay.
a Phoenix summer is just
Yeah.
misery.
It's got to be bad.
Because I hate the heat. Like, I
Yeah.
much rather prefer the cold
Oh, absolutely.
for so many reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, that freaking desert heat, that'll get you. And we went to Vegas in June, and that was miserable.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and that's just June.
Yeah.
You know, like August. Oh, dude, forget about it.
I went in March and it wasn't too bad.
See, those are the prime times
Yeah.
to go. Is when it's
I was
cold
gonna say, I mean,
here.
I don't remember a whole lot of that trip, but as far as I can, I don't think the weather was bad. So
Well, and generally those are the times that everyone goes
Yeah.
to, so it's usually pretty busy. But yeah, we're going down to Nashville here in a couple weeks. I'm excited
yeah.
for that because
that'd be
I've
cool.
never been, but
I haven't either, but I mean, I've heard great stuff about it. You know, being like a top destination for
tourists and
tourists. Yeah.
and just I'm music guy, obviously, but like I'm not a
Yeah.
country guy. But
Yeah.
I think it'll still be fun.
Yeah, no, I don't like country at all, but I would still go. Like, I still think that would be a fun trip,
And I'm sure there'll be some rock stuff. It's not just gonna be all country.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume there's like a wide variety everywhere, but you know,
Well,
even-
and that's like a big music capital.
yeah, kind of the hub. I mean, and even if it is very focused or very based on country, like I'm a fan of history, of
Yeah.
like anything. So music's history, whether it be where country came from, I mean, that'd be cool. I'd like to know why,
So we can't repeat our mistakes.
Yeah, I'd just like to know who came up with it. I just want to talk,
Yeah.
But no, that'd be cool.
I'm just a fan of a good time, so
Oh yeah,
I mean, whatever spawns a good time, I'll
Yeah.
be there. So it should be a fun one. I'm excited for it. And then of course, settle down and get the holidays out of the way.
yeah. I know those are gonna be back to back, and they are just coming up quick.
Yeah, it always does.
Yeah.
It's like we haven't even gotten to Halloween yet, and people are putting up Christmas decorations.
Oh, I know. Every year,
Oh, for
And-
sure.
and who cares about Thanksgiving? We just skip that.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
that used to be kind of a thing too, but now it's just like, man,
Yeah.
forget two straight months of just Christmas.
Yeah, literally. I mean, and now it's like Christmas is kind of drowning out Halloween. It's
But
not.
truly, I kind of think it's because so many of these stores, like these department stores and stuff, and online stuff,
Yeah.
that's their thriving
Oh, it's
most
when they do the best
time. Yeah. So, and with COVID, it's like they're trying to like make up for all of that.
Yeah.
Because don't you've
That's
noticed like
fair.
the
I mean-
last like 2-3 years, it's kind of been like that.
Yeah. Because, like, I mean, if you think about it, what do stores do for a Halloween? They throw up candy.
Yeah.
There's candy on the shelves all
I
year
guess you get the
round,
costumes and like there's the themes of it, but
Well, yeah, there's some of that, but they're not like huge sellers. Like if you
Oh,
want a
it's definitely
costume and
not.
stuff, you go to like a party store for that kind of stuff, or you
Right.
just order it online.
well, and it's very specific too. Where like
Yeah.
Christmas, everything is for sale.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And then Thanksgiving, like there's no
Yeah, they're just
there's
cutting out all
nothing
the.
to it.
They're cutting out all the.
They're like, cool, come get your normal dinner items and cook Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah,
But then
Like-
Christmas is like, the one they can go all out on. And then it does cover everything because you're like buying gifts for everyone
yeah,
you know?
and that covers every
And
department.
that could be anything in the store.
Exactly.
So not super limited like Halloween or Thanksgiving.
So yeah, they're just like, we're just gonna shove those aside and
Yeah.
push forth all of our efforts into getting this holiday
Yeah.
taken care
I
of.
mean, I get it. I respect it. Whatever makes some money.
Yeah, I guess it's just annoying as a customer.
I mean, it's not like at our work. Oh, you might not have seen it. The winterized special.
Oh, I did see that.
I
yeah.
saw that and I like immediately thought of Christmas for some reason, and I was like, "Where's the Halloween special?" Like, every business does it.
But I mean, that is a actual good model thing to do. It's like
Oh,
you have to get your car
absolutely.
winterized.
Absolutely. I just when I first looked at it, like I said, I thought of Christmas and was thinking like a Christmas kind of service.
I will say this: I really hope Toyota does a Christmas party again this year because they are
Yeah.
fun. Like you'd have a blast.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I mean, it's just cool to see everybody outside of work, kind of
Yeah.
just like hanging out. Mike always gets nice buzz.
Oh yeah.
So
he was at Anthony's bachelor party.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
I've seen it.
Okay, but it's still cool when everybody else is kind of hanging out and stuff.
Yeah.
They did it the last 2 years, so
Where at?
they just usually do it at like a convention center.
Oh, okay.
They just rent out a convention center, get dinner and stuff.
That's not bad.
They'll have like dancing or they'll do like this year they did trivia.
Okay.
They've done like talent shows in the past, I guess. I wasn't part of that, but
yeah, because like most every other shop that I've worked for that had any sort of a Christmas party, they were always at the shop.
Okay.
And that, like, I mean, some were good, but at the same time, you like going into it and you're like, great, cool, a Christmas party, but it's at my work.
Yeah.
And it's all my coworkers. It's just another day at work, you know?
Yeah, they did that the COVID year here for obvious reasons that we couldn't really book anything, but it wasn't really a party. It was more like just everybody came up and kind of hung out for a little bit, had some pizza or whatever we had, and it was really nothing extra special. But I don't know. I always have enjoyed the Christmas parties, so like I'm praying that we do another one because we've had a decent year, I believe, and I don't know. I think it's like a nice thing they can do for the.
I feel like we did. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I've only been here, since March, so I have nothing to compare it to.
I feel like we've had a good year.
I was gonna say, from everything I've heard, I know we had some record months. I don't know what exactly for, whether it be sales, service, parts, but any record month is a good month. So
here's hoping. They're a fun time.
Yeah.
I just enjoy it, so that's just my thing. But
yeah.
Well, let's wrap this bad boy up, huh? After talking work.
Yeah, I know. Work.
Everybody's favorite.
It's cool. I mean, it's relatable, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But we will end it with a positive or motivational message from you, something maybe you've taken from your life or something that has helped you through life that you want to give back to the listeners.
That's a tough one. I didn't really have a whole lot of time to think about that.
Yeah, that was my fault.
So let's see. Okay, so something I've been thinking about recently with just stuff going on in my life personally. I don't know how to word this, but like I've been trying not to let any small mistakes become like failures by taking or learning a lesson from them, because that way I can kind of turn around and look at it as a success. Like if you learn something, it's not a loss, So yeah, that's about all I got.
No, that's a good one, man. Nobody said that before, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it's after asking enough people, you kind of get some of the same answers.
I get that.
I'm actually shocked at how many different answers I've heard.
Yeah.
But they're all good, like the whole thing of this podcast is just to push positivity and try and like even just by telling stories, it's all good vibes, Even in the bad stuff, you learn the good, I
mean, it's funny, too. Like, I don't listen to podcasts.
Sure, that's fine.
But I have started listening to this one.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Okay,
yeah, no,
well, that's cool.
I do enjoy it, so it is really cool to be on it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, some of the topics were of interest, other than work. But
hey, no, I was interested just to learn a few new things about you that I didn't know before.
Yeah.
And, like, the whole cars thing. Just like getting the cars here, I had no idea how that would work.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely a learning curve to it. I mean, and again, if everyone knew how it worked, there'd be no money in it for me. So
true that. Right on. Well, we'll definitely have to do another one down the road here.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
Right on. Well, for everybody listening, thanks for listening, especially if you made it all the way to the end. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. But most importantly, don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it. Just gotta keep on